Hello, everyone. Right now, I'd like to talk about magic powder. Now, what do I mean by magic powder? By magic powder, I mean a conduit. Powder is often a conduit for magical forces, for the forces of will, for the manifestations of will and energy into the physical realm. Will can become energy. Now, magic powder. Let's give some examples. Powder is used in Hindu rituals a lot of the time to, it's not called powder, but for sake of ease, we call it powder here, to paint faces onto rocks or trees, to acknowledge the goddess in them. In Vodou, Voodoo, Santeria, a lot of the time the powder is used to make vivs, sometimes, and to blow into the wind in other times, to transfer the force of will into something that can carry it, something that can manifest it over a distance, over some distance anyway, or remain as in a certain place will eventually be washed away by nature or blown away, but will maintain its symbol for a certain amount of time before it's disposed of by nature. And there are other traditions where magical powder is a similar conduit, where it's either sprinkled to sanctify an area or to rid an area of negative forces, or perhaps to consecrate an area for future rituals. But anyway, magical powder, it can be made out of a number of things. Really, powder is always a conduit in most of these instances. It's not necessarily what it's made of, but what it's used for. Now, it honestly usually has some kind of color to it. Red, yellow. It has some kind of dye to it that will color it in a way that will have a significance to the person that's using it, and will have its significance to the symbol that it's portraying or that it's painting. Now, there's several herbs that are made into powder. Sage and mugwort might be made into powder, then colored. I've seen that done before. There might be other basic herbs like certain seeds that are ground up in a herbalistic mortar, and basically it always has a really fine feeling to it. And the main understanding of magical powder of any kind is that it's a conduit. It's not anything in and of itself. It's not going to produce the results you want just because you use it. It has to be a conduit for what your will wishes to do. And any kind of magical powder will have significance based on the particular person using it. If another person used the same magical powder, it wouldn't have the same result, because the person who makes it has to put labor into it, has to have certain attachment to their will to the powder, so that it actually does carry something, an energetic source beyond what it is in and of itself. And really, the funny thing is, the powder doesn't have to be made of any particular thing, and it honestly doesn't have to be any particular color. It's just a conduit. The vast majority of cases, as I understand them, when powder is used, it's mainly a conduit, unless it's a hallucinogen that's inhaled or by the person that makes it, inhaled by the person who makes it, or the people who are taking it either willingly or unwillingly. Those are the only times when the chemical structure of the powder actually matters, is when it's actually being ingested or breathed in, anything like that. But in truth, magical powder of any kind, and I call it magical powder, but nobody really calls it that. But puja powder in Hinduism, or dust in some magical traditions, fairy dust, magical dust, and that's magical with a CK. But it is always that conduit, and it always should have an effect on the user. Otherwise, if you're using it and you're not directing your will through it properly, then you won't feel anything. But if you feel it, if you feel like this is an extension of yourself, if you're blowing it, if you're scattering it, and when you're doing so, it actually feels like you're committing a magical act, like you're extending yourself, then you're using it properly. You're actually making magical powder by using it. And that's just a rant that I had on magical powders, puja powders, devotion powders, also, and then Hindu religion. But, you know, I like to hear what you have to say. If you're watching this, I'd like to hear what you think about this. If you think I'm totally full of shit, that's fine. If you feel like you might have learned something, or that you have another use for such powders, or you'd like to make some, feel free to comment as well. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. It's right down there. I'd love a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe. But thank you very much for watching.